Hello and welcome to the show. I am at the top of Mount Chiliad for some more downhill chaos today, using some of the awesome custom vehicles for GTA 5. Up first, it is the Dodge Challenger, the car that led Kit and Finn down the dangerous road. Now this vehicle replaces the game's Vigoro. There is a custom handling file for this car, but I couldn't get it to work properly with the game. It's a slightly funny way of having to install it, and I couldn't get it to do anything. So it's running the standard, essentially kind of like the standard handling. However, the cars do drive slightly differently. I've no idea quite how these modded cars work, but certainly I'm not sure. Like wheelbases have changed, weights have changed, suspension and so on may well have changed. Either way, the car does drive differently to the standard Vigoro. The most noticeable thing about this is the bounciness. This car has got some very, very soft suspension on it. On this opening run, it caught me out quite a lot on the way down through there. You saw the amount of airtime the car was getting, and I couldn't quite keep it all together. The other slightly bigger issue is rolling. Yeah, this is a true FailRace vehicle. Then we turn it into the hairpin, and it's over. I'm not sure if it wasn't assisted ever so slightly by a bush on the outside there. They can sometimes do strange things, but yeah, it does not take much at all to make this car fall over, especially when we're on this kind of terrain. Another thing that it would do, it wasn't too bad, and it didn't happen too often, but we could get it to slightly nosedive under braking, which caused me some issues on this particular run into turn 1. It tumbles very, very well, though. Once it gets going, this car really goes for a big tumble down the mountain. We've got to do one more roll to finish that one off. Unfortunately, a rock gets in the way of a nice landing. Yeah, you got to be quite careful with this vehicle because of the very soft suspension. This was a section of the track that I had a lot of problems on. Getting it slowed down for that jump, or for that kind of area, we just about stopped the car before it went off the side of the mountain. Yeah, it caused some issues. That time there I went in a little bit too hot and got the back end up in the air. Next time around I actually got it just slight better on the way in, but I didn't quite break it. I didn't quite break it enough. I was just a few miles an hour too fast, tagged the wall on the outside. And at those kind of speeds, while you got a jump to deal with and so on, it's too much for the Dodge to handle, and it ends up on its roof. The thing was, as I was going, sort of doing more and more runs, I kept finding new and different places to roll the car. That particular corner there is notorious for having vehicles go over if you clip the inside. I hadn't had a problem with the Dodge there up until this run, where it just decided it wanted to be on its roof. And it wanted to be on its roof all the way down the side of Chiliad. No matter what I did with the steering, it'd bugger all to try and get the car to go back on its wheels. It was only happy trying to go on its wheels after it had become stationary. Yeah, not a particularly good idea. That's taking the corner with that much speed. I made it around that turn this time without rolling. Promptly fell over at the next corner. Had no problems again with that corner all day. It's certainly not uncommon to see cars go up on two wheels there. Plenty of vehicles have. But no, that time around the Dodge decided it was definitely going to go onto his roof. And the same corner, we're up on two wheels yet again. I'd had various issues through there. Going on two wheels through that section, not a normal issue to have with a car. It took a few runs, of course, to get the Challenger all under control. It certainly wasn't a bad car. It's one of the muscle cars. It's got some decent speed about it, some decent power about it. You know, we're not expecting it to be challenging the supercars, no. But yeah, you know, it's getting up to sort of 75 miles an hour almost as we're braking it into this particular corner. Thing is, it did have to be. You have to be very wary of the corners. You had to be a little bit cautious through a couple of sections with this car. I could chuck it in down there is absolutely fine, but the hairpin, you really had to slow the car down. There was no throwing it in on the handbrake and getting as quick a exit as possible. You can't do it. You're going to end up on your roof. So yeah, some corners you could just sort of attack them like normal. Others had a lot more issues. On this actually completed run, it got a massive two-wheel moment through that corner, and I wasn't particularly expecting that. Amazing. This was the first time I'd got this far down the course. The start area had caused so many issues for this car, but further down it was actually quite good. The softer suspension was quite useful for dealing with some of the higher speed bumps. For example, over here, the car's not bouncing back up into the air on the landing. It was pretty useful for that particular jump. And as we come down the little side road, things are all going well for the Dodge around the second to last corner. It does kind of get up onto, I think, about 3 wheels at one point through there. But again, the suspension dealing with the nasty bumps through that second to last turn, and it is across the line with an almost a roll. It went for a little bit of a mid-air twist from the Dodge. Yeah, the opening half of the run, very difficult for this car. It's quite easy to get it to roll over, and you've got to make sure you get it slowed down for a couple of the corners. The latter half, though, it was a pretty solid vehicle on the most part. That softer suspension did come into its own when dealing with some of the larger, nastier bumps towards the end of the course. So yeah, provided you're aware of the rolling, not too bad from the Dodge. Up next, we have got a Ferrari 458. This one replacing the Comet. The Comet being a sports car, you know, we're expecting it to be relatively fast for going down the mountain. The front of the car is incredibly low, which is a little bit peculiar, and the hikers are, well, they're taking pictures. I decided to give them a little flamethrower show. You've got 3 flamethrowers from the back of the Ferrari, which is cool. Hikers didn't like that. They decided to, well, kind of power walk there. Why would you walk in front of the direction the car is pointing? Surely you would walk to the side of it if you wanted to get away, because it can't turn to do sort of, yeah, I've never got the hikers. They're very bizarre on chiliad. And the Ferrari, well, we certainly didn't have the problem with the bouncy suspension through the first section. It was a familiar place that things went wrong again. A couple of miles an hour, too much speed, bumped the wall on the outside, and the second you do that, you're not getting stopped. Not quite as lucky as I was with the Dodge. Didn't quite pull it up in time to get the car stopped. We just slightly, ever so slightly, slid off the mountain. The big issue with the Ferrari was the oversteer. The corner where we rolled the Dodge on, the back end of the 458 just wanted to let go. I tried my best to kind of catch it, but I couldn't quite do it. I don't remember. I mean, the Comet is a perhaps slightly more oversteering car than some, but yeah, I don't remember the Comet having this sort of much oversteer. Again, sort of slightly different car models and weights and so on will probably affect all of this. And the Ferrari, I just lost the back end. Again, the places where the Dodge was rolling, I was losing the back end of the Ferrari, and that time it just meant not being able to stop for the corner. Curse of the hikers is still partially in effect. We smack one up completely, and then a single rock screws us over further down. It was just enough to lift the back of the car up in the air for the briefest of moments, and that was enough for me to have a big issue. Like, at a course like this, at the sort of speeds you're going down, it takes one little thing to get unhappy, and then you're off the course. That time there, it was the back end again, letting go on the car. I've never had a spin at that point on the track before. No car has ever let go in that particular manner on that corner. It's a very weird place to have an accident. The hairpin, the Ferrari didn't actually like getting sort of turned around there. I was trying on the handbrake, much like we had with the Rancher, and what was the other thing? The Sand King. That when I was going on the handbrake trying to chuck it around, the Ferrari didn't want to do that. Into the corner, and we ended up spinning, putting the power down. I think I got the wheel kind of caught on the edge of the circuit there, and that sort of lifted the car out wide on that corner and bumping the rocks. Onto the completed run for the 458. Got a really big jump on the way down into turn 1. If you get that much airtime, you're normally in trouble, but I managed to get away with it this time, fortunately. The brakes on this car were fantastic. I will say that much about it. It got stopped really very, very well into these turns. Again, you can see that back end is really wanting to get away from you. Through these turns, again, a big old slide. I'm slightly out of position. It's not too bad. I can recover it through there, and the brakes do save me quite a lot with this car. Again, we see it's struggling with the hairpin. I don't know why it is particular. This Ferrari was having issues through there, but it really, really didn't like getting turned into that corner. Making sure I've got it slowed down through here. Such an easy section to try and think you can carry more speed than you actually can. I was quite acutely aware of the bumps through some of these corners and the likelihood of the Ferrari wanting to spin out. This time, we managed to keep it all together. It does, again, much like the Dodge, the Ferrari lands the jumps very well. I didn't have any problems with the car sort of pinging back up into the air. Again, sort of a little dab on the brakes, a little lift, and we had no issues on that jump. Fire it down the side roads, and even with the front sort of grazing some of the bushes, we are absolutely okay. Up to the second to last corner, a little bit on the inside, avoid the worst of the bumps. I was worried about that turn and oversteer, but we were okay. The final corner, again, we get a big kick of oversteer, and it is across the line, and then slam on the brakes, and the car gets stopped very, very quickly. Yeah, brakes were fantastic. Brakes were amazing on this on this car, but the oversteer, that was, yeah, it was a little bit fiddly. Certainly not to my liking. I don't particularly like massively oversteery cars. Had a few issues. That's what got me in trouble on the most part with this car. Was just the back end letting go as an inopportune moment and spitting you off the mountain. Other than that, though, you know, not too bad a car at all. And our final vehicle today, well, it had to go down the mountain, didn't it? We have got the monster Panto. Now, you would think that, sure, this thing should be good off-road. It's got monster truck suspension, massive amounts of ground clearance and suspension travel and so on. The problem is the width, as we can see here. It barely fits on the course. Now, I have driven a monster truck. I think I drove the Liberator, or I've driven some down here before. They are quite difficult to drive down Chiliad because of the width issue. There are many other issues with the Panto, most of them to do with the tiny, tiny wheelbase. That causes a lot of problems as well. Now, on this first run, I get the opening section about as well as I would get it the entire time. That I didn't realise just how lucky I had got through that opening section. I end up throwing it away on the next turn. With the four-wheel steer on this in such a tiny wheelbase, the car does control quite interestingly at higher speeds, and I just sort of overcorrected and we went round in a circle. This first bit would cause so many problems for the Panto. I turned in a little too soon, ran the banking, and that's always going to tip this car up onto its side. I managed to kind of fight it for control, and we got it back pointing in the right direction on the road, but yeah, lost a lot of time in the process. The other thing that you have to watch out for are, well, wheelies and similarly sort of endos and whatever. Because with such a tiny wheelbase, powerful brakes and ridiculously sort of high centre of mass and all that, you slam on the brakes, the front end of the car goes down, the back lifting up, or we go on the power and it's doing a big wheelie. That caused a lot of problems, especially into turn one. We saw the Challenger do it a little bit. This was far worse for trying to just simply get it stopped. If you got things right, it was fine, but if you had like a slight bump and while you're on the brakes, the back end would come up, and this is the result of that happening. The back end comes up and then you can't get it stopped for the corner, and then the monster Panto goes for a tumble down the mountain. Also, just the general width of this car was so awkward to get it through here. There are little rocks and fences, and it doesn't take much. It just takes enough to unsettle the car down there, just to bump it a little bit wide, and then you're in all sorts of trouble as I'm trying to get it back under control, and it's not working. It just off it goes, tumbling down the mountain again. And I also, trying to avoid the fence on the outside there, ended up slightly straddling the course, and we hit, I think, like the axles on the ground. That got the thing very unhappy. Again, it does some spectacular flips if you get it right, bouncing off the very soft suspension as we go down the mountain. I didn't quite expect that to be an issue, sort of the axles grinding out on the course. But yeah, got that wrong, and that promptly spat the Panto down the mountain. Come to the hairpin, where we have plenty of turning circle. I was trying to take a little bit of speed this time around. That didn't work at all, as we tumble off the course. Yeah, I tried to get a little bit greedy with the sort of the power going and a bit quicker, chuck it in on the handbrake, as I have been doing with other vehicles, but the Panto doesn't really want to know that one. A big oversteer moment, sort of almost mid-air oversteer moments. You've got to be so smooth with this car. It's so easy to overcorrect when you've got this sort of turning circle with four-wheel steer. You've got to be super, super smooth with the Panto, and that I was having the odd difficulty with that again down this first section. I just got it unsettled enough to cause problems, and I couldn't recover it in time. It's just so narrow down there. It is barely the Panto's width to fit down there, and again at the hairpin, turned in too soon this time, got it on the inside of the course. That was never likely to go well, too far onto to two wheels. It does many rotations, no idea how many it was, as it tumbles down and gets stuck on a rock. That was, yeah, I may have made a little bit of a mistake on that one. This took the longest out of all of the cars to get down the course, and that doesn't particularly surprise me either. This is not particularly well suited to going down Chiliad. It's just too large and almost too twitchy. I get it through the fences this time. Got to really slow it down to make sure you get through there cleanly. It is possible, as I showed on the first run, to kind of get lucky, but to do that consistently was so difficult. I had so many accidents doing silly things there. It was just a case of, right, we'll go through it just a little bit on the cautious side to make sure that we actually make it through the corner. And everywhere else, it was all about doing sort of small movements with the steering. Because around here, you could get away with it once you got it slowed down, like for the hairpin, of course. You know, you make the most of that great turning circle, but at higher speeds, you have to be very careful. I may have scared myself a little bit then across that bump. That bump is never really a problem. You've barely even thought about it in cars. You just go to the left of it, and, well, there's not even a bump if you go to the left of it. Even if they end up going sort of down the middle or have to take the bump, cars don't tend to have a problem, but with this, you can't actually avoid it, really. So, yeah, you got chucked around and nearly ended up off the course. Of course, we don't have too many problems with the landings. Had to be aware of it trying to do sort of like a slap wheelie off one of the landing zones, but if you were slow enough, if I was careful enough, I could keep it under control there. You see it doing a little bit of a wheelie, but I wasn't going quick enough really to get it properly going, and I was being cautious enough so that we didn't have any issues. Down the escape road, careful not to smack the banking on the inside, otherwise that could have caused a lot of problems for the Panto. One more corner to go as we head up towards the finish line, and the Panto makes it to the bottom. A difficult vehicle to drive down Chiliad, no doubt. It's just so wide. It really barely fits on the course for quite a lot of it. I still maintain that this is the best mod for the game ever. It is ridiculous amounts of fun. It might not be particularly well suited to Chiliad, though, or from getting away from the police. Still an awful lot of fun, though. It's still such a fantastic vehicle. But yeah, a tough drive to get down the mountain. Much as we saw with the Liberators and so on, when the normal monster trucks weren't particularly easy to get down here. And to finish off, we will have a full flamethrower, display from the back of the monster Panto. Anyway, it is on to the times, and they're not massively fast. The Ferrari 458 has a 129.2, a little bit further down than I expected. While yes, we did have oversteer problems, there's a couple of seconds down on the Blackfin. And the Blackfin was a completely standard one with no mods. It's slower than the front-wheel drive Penumbra. It didn't quite go as quickly as I was expecting. Just 0.2 of a second faster than the Casco. Yeah, oversteer was a bit of an issue, but I wouldn't have thought it was that massive of an issue. But there we go. We go further down to find the Dodge Challenger, a 132.4. It goes slower than the Space Docker. It is quicker than the Windsor. One thing you do have to consider is that this table is slightly skewed in favour of a lot of sports cars. A lot of very fast cars have gone down early on in this series. So while 27th is right towards the bottom, the table is slightly skewed for a poor muscle car. The Monster Panto, a 43.1. It's just so difficult to fit it down this course. It goes 3 seconds slower than the Slam Van. The Slam Van has no brakes. So yeah, the difficulties with the width of that Panto and the turning circle, having to be so careful with that, means it's not particularly quick, but it does beat all three of the drift cars down there. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. I'll put a link to all of the mods that I have used in the description so you can download them, have a go with them yourselves. But thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.